Alright guys, so in the last video I still had a muffler on this thing, and as you can see I sawzalled off the whole exhaust system and welded all the pieces together to make a stack. Everybody wins. I also cranked the injection pump, and that'll tell me how much air usage we're doing, because if it still smokes black it means it's not getting enough air. Now the blower, the last time, to be honest with you guys, wasn't really doing anything. It was spinning and it was making boost, but it was making so little boost that it basically didn't matter. So the best way to describe it was I put a different boost gauge on it that read vacuum as well, and at idle it would read just above positive, so just above 0, and at full RPM it was just above 0, about 2 inches of water column. So 2 inches of mercury. So I think 7 inches of mercury is 1 psi. So yeah, it was basically doing nothing. So the beauty of this design is it comes off in 5 seconds and you can reconfigure it. Now I already did some reconfiguring. I got rid of the belt. See, no more belts. And then as you can see there's a sprocket. And the sprocket has clearance issues with the fan, but you don't worry about that. I'm going to re-clearance the fan. And yeah, I'll show you guys. This is magical. Oh, look, the blower is unmounted. That was tough. Yeah, with the removal of 6 3/8 bolts, the blower completely comes off and you can run it as a factory truck again. It's going to smoke more black now, but whatever, we'll figure that out. What I have to do is I have to improve the angle. So I have to get this closer to the engine and get these back legs down just a little bit so that I can improve the angle, because the belts, they can be a little off, but a chain cannot. So yeah, I'll keep you updated. So, update time. Now, I've upgraded the belt drive to a chain, had to put a tensioner in and a sprocket on the water pump. And there's some what I call minor alignment issues. I even put in an extra brace, and it's not perfect, but it's decent. Now, with the belts, there's a lot of room for error, but with the chain, there's really only 2 things that can happen. It can go really, really well, or really, really poorly. Let's find out. Oh, don't worry about the fan. You don't worry about the fan touching. The fan, it loves that stuff. Well, it's still not boosting. That means we have work to do. We still have work to do. We get to make a choice at this point. We either speed up the blower one more stage, or we put a bigger blower on. All right, if at once you don't succeed, grab a beer and try again. So, in the first video you guys saw, we were running a belt. The belt was roughly 2 to 1. 2 rotations of the blower was 1 rotation of the crankshaft. That was too slow, we made no boost. So I built a chain and sprocket setup. This was 3 to 1. So 3 rotations of the blower, 1 rotations of the crank. That didn't work, no boost. We're jumping up to 4 to 1. Now we're spinning the blower 4 times for every 1 time. I could go up as much as 5 to 1, but I can't weld the sprocket on. Now we've got a size issue, and I can't put a bigger sprocket on the water pump So without doing any crazy modifications, we're just gonna say that if it doesn't work after 4 to 1, then this blower, like everybody has said on the comments, is just too small. In which case, we'll have to figure something else out. Oh, look at this. We are officially boosting. Oh! All right, so we are officially boosting now. This is at 4 to 1. So I am going to remove the inches of pressure gauge, and we are officially going to go to the PSI gauge and see if it makes any boost. Real boost, not that, what were we making? 2.5 inches of boost, which is a third of a PSI. So yeah, let's see what we can do. Let's see what she does. Well, that's disappointing. So what we figured out was that there is not enough boost in that little blower for this engine. If I had jumped up to a 5 to 1 gear ratio, then that blower would have been oversped when I revved it. It would have been faster than the blower. So we just proved that that blower will not work. So everybody on YouTube that commented and said that blower won't work,
I'm stupid, you're smart. I was wrong, you were right. You're the best, I'm the worst. You're very good looking, I'm not attractive.
Anyway, so I'm trying to think of what to do, and here I have a plan. Now, this might be a little bit ambitious, but time will tell. See, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm stupid. Well, I'm always stupid, but I'm not afraid to admit when I made a mistake and willing to fix it. So, as you can see, we've got the blower off. The chain's still there. The chain is absolutely ready to party. But I need something to party with. So, I didn't modify anything putting this on. So, I just have to build a new bracket. And luckily, even though this old one is useless now, and the blower is too small, I've got another exhaust stack right here. It just happens to be sitting on this 8V92 blower. So yeah, guess what? Blower. Party time. We're there, boys. We are there. Tomorrow morning is the day of truth. Look at that. That is a 8V92 blower. She's all rigged up. I haven't made the air vent yet, but that doesn't mean we can't test run it. In fact, I could almost test run it tonight. Look at the shoddy job I did mounting it. But it's still stronger than what it had last time. This is what you need to appreciate. When you do as low a quality as work as I do, you have to have a backup plan. So most people would pay for AMA, but I just put a backup valve. So when the belts fly off, or the blower piles, or the chain flies off, depending on the, how we're running it, and as long as it doesn't go rallying through the radiator, the chain, I can just open that valve and drive it home naturally aspirated again. It'll probably smoke like a freight train, but really that's a win-win. All right, people, so here we are. After all the days of messing around and screwing around, I finally got this thing sorted. We're going to do a test run today. We're going to beat on this piece of crap. And yeah, I did. You guys saw in the last video there that I got the blower mounted, but it was missing something. And I wasn't sure exactly what, but I found it at the dump. The dump will provide. That's the best way of describing it. The dump always provides. So this right here is the hood cover, an engine cover, from a 1950s Mercury outboard. Slightly modified for performance. I even took the recoil out of there so you don't have to pull start to start this thing, which, yeah, that was never going to pan out. But let's give this thing a try and see if it makes boosts now. That is in PSI as well. That's not a low boost gauge. So that's cold, and it's 4 PSI. So it is technically boosting now. Let's try this bad boy out. Tell me it's not the coolest shit you ever saw. See what this bad boy can do. Now don't worry about the oil coming out the front of the blower. We'll sort that out later. So we've got more work to do because it doesn't smoke black anymore. So I think we can turn the fuel up some more. Let's see if it does anything. Oh yeah, it definitely made a difference. Oh, we're smoking the belts. Oh, you can smell the belts. Might have some minor repairs to do and some slight adjustments. I don't think the belts are slipping. I think the oil spraying on the belts out of the blower is making the belts slip, which we can fix by just not putting oil in it or greasing the bearings instead. We'll get there when we get there, boys. Now, for all intents purposes, the blower does work. I do have to fix a leak at the front of the blower. That's because I did a subpar job sealing it up. I can fix that. But the bigger concern is it's really highlighting some of the other problems the blower can exacerbate. Like, there seems to be some engine oil and some transmission fluid on the ground. I was thinking the smoke might just be oil coming off the blower, but no, it's highlighting some other problems. We'll look into that. Just for future reference to anybody out there, if you're going to build something, try at least to take the tools from under the hood and maybe some of the loose fasteners. They're not going to do you any favors, especially when they rub shit going down the road. Now, I haven't figured out exactly what's leaking besides the blower, the engine, the transmission, and the transfer case, but I'm going to figure it out. So, I expect to be called stupid by anybody on here who has half a fucking brain about anything mechanical. But this time I actually deserve to be called stupid. So this thing was just blowing oil out when I was running it around. It was blowing oil out of the engine. It was blowing oil out of the transmission. Now, the transmission is transmission problems. The engine is me being stupid problems. So this is the crankcase breather, and this is the hose that connects it to the intake manifold. Now, on a naturally aspirated engine like this one, it would just suck, as the engine's running, gas through this hose from the intake manifold all the way up to here, and that would go right there at the bottom, right at the intake, and then it would pick up any crankcase fumes. Now, I knew this going into this, and somehow I forgot to blank this thing out. So it was just, the blower was just pressurizing the crankcase and blowing oil over the place. Now, why I didn't catch on to that instantly, it took me about an hour of looking around. I did find a missing plug on the side of the block. That's where the oil was coming from. But it was coming from the blower. Let's not kid ourselves. So yeah, I'm really stupid. And I would like you guys to tell me how stupid I am. I appreciate it. Thanks. So we might need to look into this. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Don't mind that 4x4 that's stuck to the bottom of the truck. But I did fix the engine oil leak. So in some ways it was a victory, and in other ways it was a massive failure. The engine's not leaking, but the transmission is fucked. Proper fucked, I believe is the right term. So I did end up cranking up the injection pump. I cranked it a whole bunch to try and get a bunch more fuel. Sadly, as you guys saw in the last little section of the video, I never really got to test what it could do. It was making like 8 pounds of boost, but the tranny was slipping so bad and it was smoking, as you saw. That was transmission smoke, classic transmission smoke. I stopped before I completely torched the transmission, also before the truck caught fire. Truck fires are great, but I actually plan on fixing this thing, so I'm not going to completely torch it. Yeah, like I said, some ways a victory, some ways a huge defeat. I'm going to, this thing's not done yet. I'm not giving up on it. It's getting fixed. I finally get the engine figured out, and now the transmission goes. So we're going to fix the transmission. I've been talking with Peg over at Zip Ties and Bias Plies, and yeah, he's got a pile of manual transmissions for these things and spare parts, so this thing might end up a manual. We'll see.